Description. Is it too long, too short, too pompous, or irreverent? Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of Crook Tales for Two, an Art Deco mystery, and 13 other novels, plus short stories and books for children. I'm also a former reporter who worked in Washington, D.C., covering jobs, safety, and health, which was perfect for a mystery writer because I learned all the ways people die on the job. Now, every week I produce a video on some aspect of writing, sometimes tips, insights, or gossip on current events in the writing industry. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, feel free to subscribe and to like. Today I'm thinking about writing description in books and how I came to terms with it. I always loved writing plays and dialogue and characters, but I used to be intimidated by description. I thought it had to be ponderous and written from on high. No doubt it came from experiences in a college creative writing class. Heaven knows that the students were also very serious and important, and they all wore horn-rimmed glasses. That's how you could tell they were intellectuals. In that class, one budding writer cornered the market on describing the lonely house at the end of the road with its weathered sideboard and peeling paint and the withered people who dwelled there. The professor loved her. This was exactly what he wanted to hear, evocative and a bit sad, but really it started to sound a bit contrived and generic to me. But then I wasn't the star student. And I remember another student, or possibly it was the first one, the star, who wrote a short description about the day her grandfather died. Oh, it was atmospheric. This is not an exact quote, but a memory. I was 10 years old the day my grandfather died. I patted downstairs on the deep piled carpet in my bare feet, still wearing the nightgown I had slept in. It must have been summer because a window was open and a breeze fluttered the curtains. I could hear the birds singing. The house was unusually quiet, and something signaled an emptiness, a permanent emptiness. There was a reverent silence. My grandfather was dead. Needless to say, the professor applauded. I don't know what I wrote, but it probably had something to do with crime, murder, blood. But as I was thinking about this, and the portentous moments when a grandparent dies, I recalled the day and night my grandfather died, and I was maybe 12. It was much more prosaic. My mother had to pack to take a flight to Chicago for the funeral, and she was up in the wee hours getting ready. My father had already taken an earlier plane, and my mother had to arrange to take care of us 5 children while they were gone. My mom was the best and most organized packer I've ever known. She set up the ironing board in the living room under the bright recessed lights instead of our creepy basement where she usually ironed during the day. On the fat end of the board was the iron, a cup of black coffee, an ashtray, and a lit Lucky Strike that she smoked while she ironed. I couldn't sleep, so I kept her company. If you could say that, because I was in the den around the fireplace wall and watching an unsettling late-night TV show, which must have been a rerun of Alfred Hitchcock's An Unlocked Window. A serial killer was roaming the countryside and strangling women. The story centered on nurses who were in a spooky old house taking care of an elderly patient. The show's atmosphere was so frightening I had to stand up, run around the wall, and shout, "Mom, it's so scary!" She may have told me to turn the channel, but I didn't. I kept going back for more. I would run back and forth several times, and I'd treat her to updates. "The radio said the killer is close," or something like that. Meanwhile, her pile of laundry was going down, and crisply folded clothes were placed precisely in her ivory-colored Samsonite suitcase, the one she got when she was married. Again and again, I'd return with updates. "The radio on the TV said they thought the killer got through an open window. And the nurses think there's an open window in the house." Ooh. My mother got another cup of coffee. The caffeine never seemed to bother her. She was down to her last item of clothing and the nurses on TV were down to their last moments. They were in their haunted feeling basement to shut the open window, but then there was the famous Hitchcock twist, and oh no, someone gets strangled. I will not reveal the final surprise here because it really was wonderful and frightening, and you might catch it on late night TV sometime. It's not on the web. I'm talking about the original Hitchcock's show, not the remake. My mother was finished with her laundry, and I was scared to death. And my grandfather was dead of a burst aneurysm, but at least he wasn't in that basement. I never thought about writing that when I was taking the creative writing class. Of course, it would not have flown, in my opinion. Or the sad old house at the end of the road. But now I'm thinking about how I would describe that house. I visited a house like that once. My friend Anna from junior high school lived there. It was a teetery-tottery house, a 2-story, 1-room wide abode where Anna and her parents lived. Painted in old sun-faded mud colors, it was situated on the wrong side of the railroad tracks, literally. It was so old that grooves were worn into the wooden steps to the second floor. The whole place seemed ready to fall down, but the state got there first, paying a pittance for the land and knocking it down for the new community college. The lessons over time I have learned about how to write description is to have fun with it, to give yourself permission to write what you want, to relax and think about how you would tell a friend what something looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, or how much it's worth. Nothing or $1 million. There are many ways to paint a picture in your work, and that's what description does. We should remember that description is not precious. Neither should it be generic. I have read too many novels with what I'd call generic description, and it feels strange. When I realized I could entertain myself while writing the in-between parts, between dialogue and characters and plot, I lightened up, and so did my book. My first book, Killer Hair, I came up with this opening. Lacey Smithsonian looked down at the unfortunate woman in the coffin and thought, "Oh my God, that is the worst haircut I've ever seen." And they say a bad haircut can't kill you. Remember, you're not in a university creative writing course now. You're simply telling a story. Slow down and enjoy it. That's what I'm thinking about today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.